Hi, this is Mr. Vanderhoof, and I'm going to be walking you through lesson 2.6, revisiting some key concepts when it comes to the Moon Jelly investigation. So make sure you get out your Moon Jelly booklet right here and go to lesson 2.6. So the unit question, just to revisit, is why do populations change size in an ecosystem? That's our driving question. And our chapter 2 question is, what could have caused the burst to increase or the deaths to decrease in the moon jelly population? So if you would go ahead and go to page 53 in your moon jelly booklet, and we just want to read up here at the top. Let me go back here. Read up here at the top. Today you're going to take a break from thinking about the moon jelly population to solve the puzzle of a different population that has changed size. Working with a partner, you will try to figure out why a population changed size using evidence specific to your population, along with everything you have learned about ecosystems so far. Investigating these population puzzles will help you to better understand what could have caused the mysterious moon jelly population increase. So again, I know you're at home and you're not at school, so you can turn to a partner, but maybe you have a younger or older sibling, or maybe a parent or a grandparent or someone that can help you at home, or maybe a stuffed animal, or maybe even your pet could keep you company, kind of be your partner there. So what I'd like you to do, we've already gone over these here and here. You're going to pause the video, and you are going to just look over the key concepts and just the key vocabulary. So if you could pause the video right now. This is my German Shepherd Beatrix. She's watching right now that you are pausing the video, and just take a moment to review that. Okay? All right. So we are back. Now, go ahead and go to page 54 in your Moon Jelly booklet, and let's go up to our warm-up. All right, so as you're turning there, a boomslang is a type of snake. Here's the snake. The image shows a boomslang eating a frog. Here are the legs of the frog going in. You can see the eyes of the snake. Now, remember, you're an ecologist. You're thinking like an ecologist. Ecologists gather a lot of evidence from ecosystems. One useful piece of evidence is what each population eats. How do you think knowing what eats what helps ecologists to explain changes in population size? So go ahead and write your response below. So go ahead and pause the video, and please give me a couple sentences on that response. All right, now that you have unpaused the video, you've written a response, let's go ahead and take a look at kind of some thoughts here. So what I'm thinking is this. Here's my response. Ecologists need to know what populations eat, because changes to the size of a consumer population or a resource population can change the size of other populations. So in your response, if you have anything that I put down, go ahead and underline that. And maybe if you don't have some of the components I have in my response, go ahead and add those to your response. All right? Now, remember that the moon jelly population explosion isn't the only population mystery that has happened in the Glacier Sea area. Explaining puzzles that have already been investigated, as well as evidence that scientists have used to solve them, can help you prepare to explain the moon jelly mystery. So please listen carefully. This is lesson 2.6. Lesson 2.7, Mrs. DeMyers, our student teacher from Cal State San Marcos, is putting a fabulous screencast together, and she's going to walk you through that lesson where you're going to create an argument and you're going to defend one of the claims with evidence about what's causing the moon jelly population to increase. So make sure that you pay attention. Today is our day where we're going to be collecting evidence for creating our argument and backing it up with evidence. All right, so you're going to need these things called evidence cards. I've got them right here, but obviously you don't have the evidence cards. So let me show you where to get those. So you're going to go on our website here. You're going to click on to do this week calendar. You're going to go down here, click on 7th grade. And then from there, if you scroll down a little, you'll see right here on Tuesday, Wednesday, puzzle pieces for print. You don't have to print them, but you can click on that, you can print them out, or you can just see them on your device. Also, if you click right here for more details, it will take you to this window, and if you scroll down, you can see it right here. And that you can click and find it as well. Also, you can find the PDF for the lessons and all the instructions. So, you'll come to this page, which will allow you to download the evidence cards. All right? So, please turn to page 55 if you haven't already. And I want to just draw your attention up here. Caribou are large hoofed animals with antlers, and in 2010, ecologists observed a decrease in the population size of the caribou population in Glacier Sea area. Use the evidence they collected to explain why the population has decreased. So right here, we're talking about the caribou population has gone down. Now, what I want to do is take a look here. We know that this is a food chain, and we've got the caribou, and they are eating lichen. The lichen are not eating the caribou. Even though the arrow is going from here to here, that's indicating the flow of energy or the flow of energy storage molecules. So the caribou is eating the lichen. The lichen, there's a lot of carbohydrates and energy in there. And we also know the wolves are eating the caribou. Okay? So a lot of people are like, let's just take a pause right here. What is a lichen? So about 7% of the Earth's surface is covered with these things called lichen. And a lichen is not one single organism, but it's many organisms living together, mainly an algae, which is kind of like a plant-like type organism. Some scientists categorize it as a protozoan, but it's very, very simple, like a plant-like structure or organism. And then a fungus, and they live together in this mutualistic relationship we'll talk about more. So here's a lichen, really, really cool lichen here, very bright colored. There's another lichen here with leaf-like structures. Here's a lichen, an orange lichen clinging to a rock. Here's a little yellow mustard colored lichen on a rock. Here's a little like cup-shaped lichen with his leaf structures here on a branch. And this is a gelatinous lichen. If you were to touch it, it'd be kind of squishy and gross, not really structurally hard. Lichen on a tree. And then these looks kind of like a dust-covered lichen on this rock crag here. So the structure of a lichen is this. So here's the fungus, the outer layer of the fungus, and all these little fibers and then down here, these little protruding things help it attach to the rock. So the fungus cannot make its own food, but it provides shelter and structure for the algae that live in the lichen. So you have the fungus and the algae living together, and we call that a lichen. And so they're living together so that the algae are making the food for the fungus, and the fungus is giving a place for the algae to live. So, thought it'd be kind of fun for you to go out when you have time, go outside and see if you can locate some lichen. Since 7% of the Earth's surface is covered with these. So let's do a little lichen scavenger hunt after we've done lesson 2.6. And so I just went outside and we built a deck about 20 years ago on our property, and sure enough, there is lichen covering the wood on our deck. So see if you can locate some lichen. This is what the caribou are eating, lichen. All right. Now we want to look at the initial evidence that caribou eat lichen and caribou are eaten by wolves. So we've got that from this diagram here. Now, from this initial evidence, you need to come up with an explanation of why the caribou population is decreasing using this initial evidence. Okay, so again, let me repeat. Here's the initial evidence. Caribou eat lichen. Caribou are eaten by wolves. What is causing the caribou population to decrease? So that right now, if you would go ahead and pause the video and answer that question. Go ahead and pause the video. All right, so now that I am back and you've written a response, let's go ahead and take a look at what I thought as it would be a good response. So Caribou get their energy storage molecules from eating lichen. If there were fewer lichen, that could have led to fewer bursts in the caribou population because caribou can't reproduce as much with fewer energy storage molecules. Basically just saying if there's less food for the caribou to eat, then they can't reproduce as much. Or there might be more wolves. Wolves eat caribou, so a larger wolf population would lead to more caribou deaths. A decrease in the births or an increase in the deaths would lead to there being fewer births than deaths, and the population would decrease of the caribou. All right, now for our second question is we need an evidence card it says you need to get from your teacher. But again, I can't pass this through the screencast, so I'm going to show you the evidence card. So in the evidence card right here, it gives us some more information. Caribou reproduction requires a lot of energy. If caribou don't have enough energy, they won't reproduce. To get energy, caribou eat lichen, which obtain energy storage molecules or carbohydrates. Between 2009 and 2010, ecologists saw less lichen. All right, so here we go. Go ahead and respond. Give me a more complete explanation about why the size of the caribou population decreased. So go ahead and pause the video. Now that we are back, let's go ahead and take a look at what I was thinking. Caribou get storage energy from lichen. Scientists saw less lichen, so caribou were probably getting fewer energy storage molecules, which means they cannot reproduce as much. This would lead to a decrease in the births, leading to fewer births than deaths, and the population would decrease. Let's go to evidence card B. Let's go with a little more evidence. So here's the card. And we have here that wolves get energy storage molecules from eating caribou. Ecologists have noticed more wolves in the area. Sometimes caribou have to dig through the ice and snow to get the lichen. So if you can see here, I don't see any lichen. Here's the lichen, but it's been covered with snow. It's down there. They've got to dig to locate the lichen. And there has been extreme weather in Glacier Sea area, leading to a lot of snow and ice. So there is some more evidence. And so what I would like you to do right now in your booklet is please come up with a more complete explanation based on the new pieces of evidence. So go ahead and pause the video now. All right, now that I'm back, let's go ahead and take a look at your response and see the response that I came up with. So, there were also more wolves in the area, which would have led to more caribou deaths, leading to fewer births than deaths. Also, the evidence states that the caribou need to dig through the ice and snow to get the lichen. That tells us it right up here. If there had been more snow and ice than normal, it could explain why the caribou are not getting as much energy storage molecules. So, in your response, any of the components that I had, go ahead and underline those. And if you don't have some of these responses, go ahead and answer those to your response now. All right, so the next puzzle is the green group, and that's the Orca Population puzzle. Now, orcas are a type of whale, killer whale, and in the summer of 2007, ecologists observed the number of orcas in the Glacier Sea had decreased. Use the evidence they collected to explain why the population decreased. So here's the initial evidence. We'll go over that in just a moment. And if you take a look here, you're going to be answering the first question using that initial evidence in your booklet. So, if you take right here, we know that ecologists found a normal number of adult orcas in the ecosystem, but they found fewer orca calves. The babies were being born. So that was the first piece of initial evidence. The second, ecologists did not notice any change in the number of deaths in the orca population. So go ahead and put your response down here. of what is causing the orca population to decrease. So if you would go ahead and pause the video and respond. All right, I'm back, and let's go ahead and take a look at your response and response I came up with. So this is what I'm thinking. There were fewer orcas being born, and the number of deaths stayed the same. This led to fewer births than deaths. When there are fewer births than deaths, the population is going to decrease. So again, please add to your response if some pieces of that are missing in your response. Now, if we go to our first evidence card, which is evidence card A, you're supposed to get from your teacher. Here it is. So an evidence card with the green group, we've got orcas. Reproduction requires a lot of energy. If orcas don't have enough energy, they will not reproduce. To get energy, orcas eat seals, which contain energy storage molecules. And the number of seals has decreased. This is our evidence card A. I just threw this in there kind of to take a pause. Many of you have seen some of these videos on YouTube. If you just put orcas eating seals, I'm not going to show that right now. So when you're done with the lesson, go check that out. But it's pretty amazing how they can slide right up there on the sand, on the shore, and then snatch one of these seals for a meal. Look at this seal right here, as you've got, it looks like 4 orcas coming up upon this to feed on them. And they've been shown to hunt in pods and to work, together to get their prey. It's pretty interesting stuff. Now, back to our evidence card. Here's our 3 new pieces of evidence. And I would like you to explain why the orca population has decreased using these new pieces of evidence. So go ahead and write that, your response in here, and go ahead and pause the video. All right, so now that I'm back, let's take a look at your response and see how it compares to what I was thinking. So, orcas get their energy storage molecule from eating seals. When there are fewer seals or fewer calories, orcas are going to get fewer energy storage molecules, which means they cannot reproduce as much. This was why there could have been a decrease in births. This could have led to fewer births than deaths. Because the number of deaths stayed the same, the population decreased. So again, underline key components of my answer in your response. You might have some different things. So go ahead and star those, but go ahead and improve your response. Great job with that. And let's look at our last evidence card, which is going to be card B. You should be on page 57. Seals have thick layers of fat on their body. This is where they have most of their energy storage molecules, their calories. The normal average weight of a seal at Glacier Sea is about 250 pounds. During the summer of 2007, ecologists discovered that the average weight was 175 pounds. So 75-pound difference. So the average seal was down in its weight. So using that evidence, go ahead and create a more complete explanation of what was causing the orca population to go down. So go ahead again, pause the video, and write your response. All right, now that we're back, go ahead and let's take a look at my response and compare to what you had down for your response. The seals weighed less during the summer of 2007. So not only did the orcas have fewer seals to eat, but the seals also had less fat on their bodies. So they're giving the orcas less energy storage molecules. So basically just saying these skinny seals that were down on their body weight is not providing as many calories for the orcas. The seals must not be getting enough energy storage molecules, so they can't store as much fat on their body. So again, underline if you had any things that I had on there and go ahead and add to improve your answer. All right. let's go ahead and go to our last puzzle, which is the blue group, and that's dealing with the wolves feeding on the moose feeding on the grass. Our initial evidence is right here, and let's go to our first question, which is, why did the size of the moose population decrease? Okay, using this initial evidence. So the initial evidence is here. The moose eat grass. Moose are eaten by wolves. It was unusually warm in 2010. So go ahead and put your response down here of what's causing the moose population to decrease. Go ahead and pause the video. Remember, Beatrix is watching. Pause the video and write your response. Let's try this again. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at my thinking and compare it with your thinking. Moose get energy storage molecules from eating grass. If there was less grass, that could have led to the fewer bursts in the moose population because moose can't reproduce as much with fewer energy storage molecules. Or there might be more wolves. Wolves eat moose, and a larger wolf population would lead to more moose deaths. A decrease in births or an increase in the deaths would lead to there being fewer deaths than births, and the moose population would decrease. It would go down. So again, underline the components of my response that were similar to yours, and maybe if you have some other valid responses that I didn't have, you could star those. All right, great job. Let's go ahead to our first evidence card, A. Very interesting. It starts off with ticks. This is a tick. They're parasites, or organisms that feed on parts of other organisms, usually without killing them. Ticks suck blood from larger animals to get energy storage molecules. Each tick only sucks a small amount of blood from the larger animal. Of course, you don't want to kill the hand that's feeding you. 10 years ago, there were very few ticks around the Glacier Sea, and now there are more, based on the samples ecologists collected. This year, ecologists found a moose and Glacier Sea area with over 100,000 ticks on its body. And guys, when I read this, I'm like, that is a typo. There is absolutely no way that you could have 100,000 ticks on a moose's body. So I thought maybe it was 1,000 ticks, or maybe I thought it was 10,000 ticks, but not 100,000 ticks. I was just like, my mind was blown. So, little research on ticks here first is that a tick is not an insect, but it's an arachnid. It's related to spiders and scorpions. It's got 8 legs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it's got 4 stages of its life. It's got the egg stage, the larval, the nymph, and then the adult tick stage. Here's a dog, poor dog, and here's got like 3 or 4 little ticks embedded in its paw. Now notice, here's a scale. Remember, we're thinking like scientists, scale and proportion and quantity. 1 millimeter. A dime is 2 millimeters thick, so ticks are really small. Now, again, here's some ticks on the back of a dog. And again, I just want to forewarn you, if you get grossed out easily, you might not want to look at these photos that I'm going to be showing you. This dog right here has probably 300 ticks in each ear. And you can see these are all the same species, but these are just gorged on blood. So once a tick they don't jump. They're usually on grass, and then as the host or an animal walks by, they will cling on, and then they'll look for the thinnest part of the skin to penetrate. And obviously on a dog, that would be on the thinner skin in the ears, and then now they can start to feed. They will create an anticoagulant so that the blood won't coagulate, and it will flow easy. And so then they can host and they can feed on that blood meal. Now, Mrs. DeMeyer, our student teacher, she did some research and found in the New York Times that yes, it is true that a moose could have up to 100,000 ticks on it. And they said here about 47,000 ticks on a moose. That's about average 47,000 ticks. And in the article, it does talk about the one example that there was over 100,000 ticks found on one moose. Here's some of the ticks that they collected in some of their studies. And this was a moose calf that was recovered with more than 50,000 ticks on it. And you can see right here on the ear, these are all ticks that are gorged on blood. And here's a close-up of a part of a moose's body with hundreds and hundreds of ticks. So, it's not the best for the moose, obviously, to have 100,000 ticks on you. So imagine if you were a moose and you had 100,000 ticks covering your entire body. That is a crazy thought. So, from this evidence, from evidence card A, go ahead and create a more complex explanation of why and what was happening. Let's see here. We already got that. So create a more complex explanation about why the moose population is decreasing. Go ahead and write that down there. And you know the routine. Pause the video. All right, I'm back. Let's go ahead and take a look at my response and see how that compares to yours. There were more ticks in Glacier Sea area over the last 10 years, which could have made the moose sick. You think? With 100,000 ticks sucking blood out of you, that's probably gallons of blood, leading to an increase in deaths. This could lead to fewer births, right? Because if you're dead because the tick sucked all your blood out, then there could lead to fewer births than deaths, and this is why the population would decrease. Okay? Now, let's go to the last evidence card, which is going to be evidence card B, and it looks like this. When a tick sucks another animal's blood, that animal has to make new blood to replace what it has lost. Right, you're losing blood, your body's going to make more blood. Animals use energy storage molecules to release energy to replace the blood. And ticks survive best in warm weather. So now you've got some more evidence. So please go ahead and make an even more complex explanation, scientific explanation, based on the new evidence of why the moose population has decreased. So go ahead and pause the video and write your response. Pause the video and write your response. All right, I am back, and let's take a look at your scientific thinking versus my scientific thinking. Again, I think you guys got this, so let's take a look here. When ticks suck blood from the moose needs to make more blood. If you've got that, underline it. Since this takes energy storage molecules, the moose will not have as many energy storage molecules to reproduce because it's making more blood. This would lead to a decrease in births, leading to fewer births, and then deaths, and the population would decrease. So go ahead and underline those and add to that. So hopefully you had many of those components in your answer. So bravo, great job with that. All right, lastly, what I want to do is have you share what you've learned today. Obviously not with a partner, but with someone that is at home with you. Sharing what you've learned about these different puzzles. There was the purple, and there was the green, and then there was the blue. Why did the population you learned about decrease in size? Be sure to point out all the evidence that helped you answer the question. So go ahead and make sure you share those with someone today. And then I thought it'd be also fun to, now you could go do your scavenger lichen hunt, and you can go look for lichens. Go ahead and take a picture and then share that with me through email, and then I'll go ahead and post those. I'll find a way to post those so we can share about what other students are doing. Again, I just went right outside my house and found lichen on our wood deck. So hopefully you enjoyed lesson 2.6 and you're looking towards lesson 2.7. Until then, I will see you next time, and please stay safe and stay healthy. Have a great rest of your week.